Oh, what up, Hyperchange? Welcome to the live stream. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear the audio. Want to make sure this is okay. Wow, 500 of you guys already. So Tesla stock is at 900. Hard to even believe that it's up this much right now. But I wanted to, I'm getting a ton of texts from people. I was up super late last night, believe it or not, editing a video about the Chevy Bolt that I shot while in Austin at fully charged. So a little bit tired, but I just woke up to so many texts, so much energy, wanted to go live, give you my thoughts on Tesla. And audio's good. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear the audio. I also wanted to make sure that you guys know I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. I just saw a ton of you in Austin at the Fully Charged event, which was so cool. Gave a huge presentation about why I think Tesla's going to a trillion, and it was awesome to see a ton of you guys there. But everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much for you made me all this money on the stock." And I was like, "I didn't make you money on the stock. You made yourself money on the stock. I'm not a financial advisor, so I want to be super clear when I say that because I'm about to get in really deep about what I think about the stock, what I think about the valuation. My personal investing strategy is just buy, hold long term. Started buying my Tesla stock in 2016, averaged in at probably around 240, 250 per share. Haven't sold a single share on this run up. Don't plan on selling a single share. I think the valuation, what we're seeing right now, probably a combination of a little bit of short covering as well as just a significant re-rating for the company. What that means is essentially the stock market is changing its perception of what it thinks of Tesla based on the company's execution and fundamentals, but a ton of other stuff. And I was looking at the valuation today, about 900 per share. Actually, as I'm recording this, I think we're above 900 per share, 905 per share, up another 16% today. I'd not keep buying because I don't have any money. I actually spent all my money up front to buy Tesla stock when it was down earlier this year, and now I have to save up all my money to pay taxes. So I don't have money to buy Tesla stock right now. But I'm holding on to every single share I own. And I was thinking about that at about $906 per share, 905. We're looking at a valuation. If you assume 200 million shares outstanding, a little bit of dilution, about $180 billion market cap. So that probably around in line with Netflix. That would be in line with Toyota, making Tesla on par for the world's largest auto company. And I think that I'm personally not selling because I think this is just the beginning of Tesla. Like I said in the fully charged thing, I think the long-term potential is a trillion. I mean, Ron Barron was just on TV this morning. He's holding all of his shares. He actually sees the path to $1 trillion in revenue by 2030. My projections are more like 350 billion. So he's even more bullish than I am. I think that's a big reason the stock is climbing is because of his commentary. Additionally, you saw the new commentary by ARK Invest, who put out a $7,000 price target for the year 2024. Their theory is more about the disruption that self-driving cars will have and how that will turn Tesla into more of a software-like business and change the margins of the company. And I think, frankly, the market is getting a little bit excited about that. And I also wanted to point out, I try and not look too much at the stock price. I don't want to get too excited when it goes up, too bummed when it goes down. I almost don't check Tesla stock daily, if you believe it or not. I check the news daily, and I'm obsessed with what's happening with the company, but I'm not really obsessed with the share price, and I don't care that much, even though this is super exciting because at the end of the day, what's happening at Tesla on the ground isn't that different from a week ago, even though the stock has doubled. So I think that's super important to remember. But when I think about the lens of Tesla, I think extremely rapidly growing company, leader in this market that I think is poised to grow exponentially over the coming years. Only 2% of cars sold, there's 90 million cars sold each year, are electric. And so that we have to go transition from the other basically 98%, 97% of vehicles sold need to go electric. And so I think there's a huge opportunity, and we're and Tesla has about 80% market share of the electric car market of that 2% in the US. So I just think we're in the very early stages of this radical transformation. So that's my way of saying I think Tesla's a growth company and they have significant growth left. And I think we're all getting so excited, oh my God, Tesla's so high, we're freaking out about it. I don't think people are taking a step back, think about, okay, well, what's the valuation look like? Is this making any sense? So I think Tesla at 180 billion is projected to do about, or I'm projecting them to do about 33, 34 billion in revenue this year. That would be about 5.5, maybe a little less times price sales ratio. Thanks for the super chat, Brian. And so when I thought about that, I was like, okay, this is a company that could grow revenue at what, 40, 50% this year. And they're trading at five and a half times price sales. That's actually not that crazy of a valuation. Especially when you start to think of Tesla as a tech company, not a car company. And so That's kind of the point that I wanted to make with this video. Why is Tesla stock soaring to 900? Why is it rising so much? I think it's a re-rating and this understanding that Tesla is not just a car company. They're the computer on wheels company. They're a technology company, and and people valuing them like a technology company is what's having the market start to give these shares a much higher premium on their revenue, on their profit. And I think that's a really big difference for Tesla. So I think about 5.5 times price sales. I don't think that's too crazy given Tesla will compound sales at nearly 40 to 50% for the foreseeable future. So I think the market's starting to realize that. Tesla did about a 5% operating margin in Q4 for every dollar in revenue. 5 cents went down to profit. And I think in the long run, I believe Tesla will be one of the most profitable auto companies or energy companies we've ever seen, or basically debunking that entire myth of how profitable a car company can be. And they can make 10 cents, 12 cents for every dollar in revenue and profit. So if you think about their normalized margin profit, if we do 33 billion in revenue times 10%, that would be 3.3 billion in earnings. And so 180 divided by 3.3 billion, I don't know, we're looking at about a 50 times normalized price earnings ratio. And that's for a company that's growing about 45 to 50% for the foreseeable future. So that would be on their my theory of their normalized earnings ratio, we're looking at about a 1 peg price earnings over growth. And so this is kind of a back of the napkin, old school way to figure out whether a PE price earnings ratio is justified depending on the growth rate, because you want to pay a higher multiple for earnings if a company is growing faster, right? So Tesla's growing fast, so they could theoretically justify a high multiple of earnings. So when I think about a 50 times, normalized margins of 10% on 33 billion in revenue, 3.3 billion in earnings, 50 times on that doesn't actually seem too crazy. And so that's one of the reasons from the valuation standpoint that I'm not like cashing out of my shares immediately and being like, oh my God, this is way overvalued. And I'm also just have a much longer term horizon. Like I said, I'm investing this for 4 years. I truly think there's $1 trillion potential in Tesla, and I think they're leading. And I think this is really about investing in technology. It's not looking at what as much as I just talked about all those financials that are just happening, it's really not about the financials. It's about Tesla's technology. And I mean, it is about the financials, but they're lagging significantly the potential of what that technology is going to be and all the industries it's going to disrupt. And I think we're in, the early stages of the next decade of Tesla being able to monetize all this work in battery and autonomous vehicle technology they've been developing. And I don't want to miss that ride. And so I know a lot of people are like, oh, sell here and wait till it goes down. There's a great chance it could pull back. Stocks cannot go up 16% per day forever, so do not get used to this. But I don't like to time the market. Like, I've been waiting on this for years. Like I said, it's like my 4th year owning Tesla stock. I originally was even a shareholder back in 2012, so I just like to be so boring and simple with my investments. That's just my personal strategy. Buy, hold. I think this is going to $1 trillion in 5 to 10 years. I don't want to miss that boat because I'm trying to be smart, taking profits early. And so that's just kind of my personal philosophy. I'm looking at the stock right now. It's at $910, which is epic. Unbelievable. Solving the money problem. Thanks for the shout out. I like your channel. All right, I'm going to go through some super chats. Matt, thank you. What do I think of ARK's golden goose scenario? So, ARK Invest is the only firm on Wall Street that really seems to get what Tesla's doing from the autonomous vehicle standpoint. They put a huge dollar amount of potential on this revenue line for Tesla. I think, it's hard for me to fathom what that is because we haven't seen Tesla launch a robo-taxi service. We haven't seen them launch this theoretical Uber competitor. But I think when they do launch, I don't know. I think ARK is extremely right in the direction of the research, but like the timing and the value, I'm just so uncertain because I'm like, I think level 5 autonomy is further away than we think. We heard Elon Musk sort of hedge that on the conference call. They want to do full self-driving complete by the end of 2019. Then on the conference call, they're like, oh, whoa. It's going to come this year, but it won't be really what you think it is. It's, if there's not a 0% chance that you can get from home to work without an intervention, basically saying you're probably going to need to intervene. It's totally not going to be perfect for a while. So I think this is a building year for autopilot in 2020, 2021, also going to be a building year. Also, I was doing some back on app and thinking, I think Elon Musk has said they will need tens of billions of miles on autopilot to convince regulators to launch a fully self-driving taxi. They just crossed 3 billion miles. Lex Friedman thinks they're going to get about another 2 billion miles this year. That's 5 billion. So you're even going to have to wait till about 2022, 2023 for them to have even accumulated that enough tens of billions of miles of data to actually get, go for it. And actually launch that robo-taxi service. So, sorry, I'm getting way too many texts coming in, which is running my live stream. But anyway, Alien tech. Should we talk about Battery Investor Day, or what do you guys want to talk about? Let's talk about Battery Investor Day. So I have a ton of videos that I want to make. Oh, Tesla stock at 912. It's pretty fun to watch. So I think that I don't want to spoil the video that I'm working on, because I'm working on a video that's basically going to talk about what Tesla's announcing. But I think I had some interesting discussions at Fully Charged Live with a ton of different like thought leaders in this space. Basically, how far behind are these companies on battery technology versus where Tesla is today? And it really seems like it's years behind in terms of being able to make a long range EV for a profit. These other automakers are still like 3 to 4 years behind. And the biggest constraint for all of these automakers is battery capacity and battery production. And it's all about how many batteries can you produce, and that will dictate how many cars you sell, how fast you can grow. So many ways, this growth of Tesla and the entire valuation that the stock is trading on right now is hinging on how fast they can scale their battery production, because that's all about how fast they can scale their revenue. And so that's why Battery Investor Day is so important. But when they acquired Maxwell Technologies, they basically had this new system for building a battery that is way simpler, faster, without this drying oven of the wet. There was like a wet electrode. Maxwell comes with the dry electrode. You don't need to dry this complicated toxic solvent, which is the biggest like sink of actual space at the Gigafactory. So without that huge step, it's way less space, way less time, way less cost to build a battery. And at the same time, you're getting a slight increase in energy density. And because I think there's some sort of simplicity in the design, there's less like fracturing in the cell over charge cycles, it seems like you're getting a battery that could last longer. That's the buzzword of a 1,000,000-mile battery. So what I'm thinking Tesla's about to announce is a way that they can build a lot more batteries for a lot cheaper. Those batteries happen to be more energy dense, and they happen to last way longer. And that trifecta is a game changer that is even next iteration of their technology, which makes them even harder to catch. And we're talking about Tesla's technology in 2 years. So when you're talking about $900 per share, is that fairly valued? You know, you're betting on the commercialization of next generation battery technology that doesn't even exist yet. Tesla's old battery technology that's being commercialized is on the cusp of doing $33 billion in revenue, profitable, you know, dominating the industry. Imagine what their next iteration of battery technology can do. And the more I think about like, you know, just the amount of growth opportunities this company has. I mean, the semi truck is starting deliveries this year. That's something that I think a product that has tens of billions of dollars of potential that they're just going to start this year that has been totally forgotten and sidetracked. I think the energy business is poised to be a huge, exciting, bright spot this year that not enough people are realizing. Slipped in the Q4 numbers was the guidance for 2020 of 50% growth in solar deployments and battery deployments. I think they could be even sandbagging that number. So we're going to see a return to rapid revenue growth for the energy segment as well. So that's why when you think about Tesla, how are they worth more than the biggest car company? This is not really a car company. They sell computers on wheels, and they sell ways to produce and store energy. This is like an energy technology, self-driving, like they're attacking like $4 trillion markets at once. And that's what gets me so excited about the long term. So when I think, oh, 140 billion a lot, is 160 billion a lot, is 180 billion a lot for the valuation, like, maybe it seems rich on today's financials, but long term, for my kind of like VC style, very long term out investing, I want to stick in this. I want to hold. Like, I'm old school and boring. I just love being a shareholder. Like, I want to, you know, I don't know. That's like half the fun for me, is just being involved in the company, going to the events, going to the shareholder meetings, and, you know, so I'm not trying to trade and time the stock. So this is just kind of an insight into my philosophy about it. But if you guys have any questions, would love to get to those and answer. But oh, yes. So the other big thing about Tesla, someone just added a super chat about Jim Cramer, fossil fuels are done. So I think this is a really interesting point that I kind of wanted to bring up, that I think finally Tesla has crossed this chasm from like weird technology, Elon Musk's crazy company, to like, no, this is a desperately needed bet on the future of energy that we all need to wake up and get together. Like, Exxon stock is crashing at the same time. So I think there's a serious sort of wake up moment. Larry Fink, the head of BlackRock, the largest asset manager in the world, is basically saying every CEO needs to wake up, get their climate strategy in place, and this is going to be a must have. And so I think, you know, I'm only thinking about Tesla from like a financial perspective and valuation. I'm not even pricing in the fact that this is a piece of technology that like the world desperately needs. It's hard to even fathom the value of that to governments around the world. And I think more and more people, at least in the general populace, are waking up to the strategic value of having a huge solar panel network, of having the most efficient battery. And I think just the coming wave of reinventing our entire energy infrastructure is something that is just starting. And so to see this start to go mainstream is super exciting. I mean, the amount of deaths that pollution is causing, if you're like a young person in the US, the most likely way you're going to die is you're going to have get into a car accident. And so Tesla's trying to solve that with autonomy. So I think they're doing so much good in the world. Someone just commented about battery. One second. So someone just commented about Battery Investor Day. Really cool. I'm so pumped for that. I actually had an idea last night that Tesla should have a 2021 Investor Day of energy. So I'm going to pitch this to Tesla, but like solar panels and what they're doing for batteries for the grid, I think is an entirely new Investor Day. That's an even sort of further out piece of their business, the third leg of that business that I think is going to be an exciting thing. So I hope Tesla starts to announce that and like puts more investor focus on that, because that's sort of been a black box of, where are they deploying all these megawatt hours of energy storage? Where are they deploying these solar panels? What's the real strategy for solar glass roof? I think it's going to take a while to get that ironed out, but I'm thinking in 2021, just like they're going to have a battery investor day in 2020, they will have an energy investor day, or that's just the idea I had. So I'm going to tell Tesla they should do that. Okay, one idea I've been thinking more and more about as well, and I got this idea at Fully Charged, or I'm sorry, gotta catch my breath for a second. But so at Fully Charged, they were talking about like there was so much debate. It was this awesome conference in Austin. I was on a panel with Teslanomics, and now shout out to those awesome guys. But they were talking like, okay, is Tesla better? Who's going to catch Tesla? How are we going to win? And then it really turned into this thing of like, wait, why are we trying to decide who's going to win? Like, we all need to go electric as fast as possible. And so I think the answer to that is both a fascinating one from like Tesla basically needs to license out their skateboard. The machine that makes the machine, the gigafactories, that is Tesla's product at the end of the day. That's the product that Elon Musk said was the product, the alien dreadnought, this robotic factory that builds cars. So I think Tesla and Fiat actually on their last earnings call said they would want to license this technology. Tesla 2 earnings calls ago said they'd be willing to license out their battery technology. So I think Tesla licensing out their battery skateboard or their old technology, not even Maxwell, is a huge potential, because basically what that means is they don't have to build gigafactories 5, 6, 7, 8. They can have Fiat, Volkswagen, all these other companies start to build those gigafactories today with their capital. Tesla doesn't even need to put up the cash, but they can still get a massive royalty stream for the technology. That's when Tesla goes from building everything themselves to a potentially technology licensing IP company, which normally I would hate, but I just think if that's the real fastest way to solve the problem, and financially is just a way for Tesla to get a massively faster ROI on its equity. So these are all like mega shoes to imagine if a deal with Volkswagen or Fiat gets dropped. I mean, these are huge potential moves to make. And I also think now that Tesla's a runaway train, who's buying this right now? I don't really think it's fully a short squeeze. I mean, there's more shares traded in a day than are short, so short covering could be helping, but I think it's actually just people buying the stock because they believe in the execution of the company. Tesla's proven its business model in 2019, and it's continuing to prove it in 2020. And I think that's really what's driving the stock price. I got some super chats here I want to catch up on. What other company are you excited about right now in the market? SpaceX. And I have some cool SpaceX schemes, really cool SpaceX schemes that I can't quite talk about yet, but I will soon. So, but honestly, I'm trying to find companies that are disruptive as Tesla, that are doing as many exciting things, that are moving the progress forward on climate change, but I really just can't, frankly. And so that's what my fascination with Tesla is. I think they're just getting started. I mean, there's a lot of debate about how far ahead they are, and it's pretty unbelievable when you think about it. But Tesla's been sprinting for 10 to 12 years developing this battery, and autonomy technology is less, but they've been sprinting developing this like crazy Silicon Valley move fast, break things mindset, and everyone just now is in like, wait, we should try and copy this as fast as possible stage. They're not even going to be successful. Tesla's already still running. So I personally don't get excited about any company in the world even remotely as close to Tesla. And I think that Elon Musk is such a unique person that's alive right now. Just this idea of owner, operator, founder, like I want that hacker, like Zuckerberg, frankly, is one of these. You could say he's evil or whatever, but he's got the same thing of he's the coder. He coded the product. He's actually like the guy building the technology behind the company, also leading it, also owns the biggest stock in the company, is also motivated to get rich by the stock in the company. I think Elon Musk is like one of the smartest engineers in the world, smartest like physicists in the world, just a brilliant inventor. Like I really think that's what he should be known for. If we read about him in the history books, he would be like an inventor of things. The difference is he's not just inventing things and like just scribbling on a piece of paper that we find in some notebook 400 years later and we're like, oh, he invented that. No, it's like he's inventing it and commercializing it. That's really rare. I've never seen a person that's alive right now invent so many things at once and commercialize them so rapidly. And I mean, I think Tesla is like Tesla equity to me is an unexpiring call option on at least a facet of Elon Musk's brain that I do not want to give up. And so that's why maybe today on the products they have in the market right now, it looks like it's slightly overvalued. But if you think about that never-ending expiring call option on Elon Musk and what he could invent, I think that's a premium that should significantly be priced into the stock. That's why when I think Tesla at 5.5 times sales here, even though they're at 900, growing 50% with that call option, I just don't think that's as crazy as people make it out to be. I wouldn't be surprised to that being said though, like if stock goes to 500 tomorrow, like okay, who cares? That could totally be possible. Could go to 300 tomorrow. Like you never know. But in the long run, I just see more and more value here. The 900 a share. I used to have my Twitter bio, like I'm hodling till a trillion. I took that out of my Twitter bio because I just thought it was ridiculous, but I still have not changed that philosophy. Like I want to hold, at least if I can, because I hopefully don't need the money, like till this hits $1 trillion, because that's really what I see. So, as much as I'm pumped about it, my shares tripling and it being as high as it is, like I'm sticking to my guns and I'm trying to be super disciplined, buy, hold, long-term, stick to the vision, don't change, don't get too excited. And that's, yeah. Get to more super chats. Nick G, do I think this is the short squeeze? I think I answered that. All this talk about a short squeeze is like, I just don't care, because a short squeeze implies that like there's irrational movement in the price because people are being forced to buy, short sellers being forced to cover their positions. So there's like a massive increase in the price. But like, I don't, that implies an irrational move away from the intrinsic value of the equity, which is short term, which isn't what I'm betting on. I'm betting on an intrinsic move in the equity value. Like I think the price is going to go up because the value of the company is going to go up, not because short sellers are forced to buy it irrationally. I think it's rational, and that's what my thesis is on Tesla. And I don't think this is a short squeeze. You could do the numbers, but I mean, there's, what is there, 25 million shares short? What did it trade yesterday? Like 40 million shares? I mean, the days to cover, when Tesla did have a true short squeeze, was when it went from 30 to 180 in 2012 or 2013. The days to cover on that were like 12 to 15. Like it would have taken 12 days of average daily volume to cover the entire short position. When you get to 5 to 10 days to cover, that's short squeeze potential. When you get to 12 days, 15 days to cover, that is short squeeze potential. But when you get to, less than 1 day to cover, because like I said, 38 million shares traded yesterday or something like that, and there's like 26 million shares short, that's not even 1 day. I just don't think that it could be a short covering, could help the rally, but I don't really think it's a short squeeze and I'm not paying attention to it. So I hope that answers your question. Yeah, anyway, I'm going to let some more questions come in. I don't own any ARK, but I love ARK because they're, oh, wow. All these super chats coming in. Thank you. Redwood Materials, that is the interesting battery company JB Strawell's working on. I am so curious to learn more about that, but it's like a total black box. You can't invest in it. You can't know anything about it. If somebody has a tip on that, please let me know. I would love to know. Someone asking for a Tesla interview? Sure. Takeover attempt. Yeah, honestly, I'm really curious. One sort of like moonshot theory I have right now is I'm like, is there some huge investor buying a chunk of Tesla stock right now? Is it Warren Buffett? I don't know. I'm kind of hoping. I pitched like, there was a Moonshot Monday, if you look on the channel like 2 years ago, where I'm like, Warren Buffett, you should put in $5 billion at Tesla at 300 and like fund the company and take them all the way. So maybe there's a huge investor buying the company. Rumors of some sort of big partner taking a huge equity position. I mean, Tesla's been strapped for cash and sort of like on the cusp of like financial, being precarious from a financial perspective for so long. Now they're not. That's a huge fundamental change that could attract a lot more very large strategic institutions. Think about BlackRock. They're managing what, trillions of dollars, largest asset manager in the world. It's like pounding the table about climate change as hard as they can, saying everybody needs to get involved with this. I mean, that's basically them saying at a board level, the amount of capital that means that's trickling down to Tesla. Imagine them going to all these companies, PG&E, Coca-Cola, all these world-based companies, like every factory needs to go renewable. Who are they going to call? Probably Tesla to get a bunch of power packs, power walls, solar panels, and a bunch of autonomous cars doing all their deliveries. I mean, if you think there's an acceleration in the public's interest and focus on climate change, I think so much of that dollars has to trickle into the best technology to solve those problems, and I think that's Tesla. And so I truly think they're poised to capture so much of this. Can I get the super chats? What do I think about Jim Cramer flipping on Tesla? I mean, hype train. He was hating on Tesla. Stock starts going up. I'm pumped he gets it. I think it's exciting to see even like the mainstream financial media like CNBC, who's so backwards and has just had it so wrong for so long and is frankly just clueless, to see them finally catch up and even they get the story now, which is pretty epic. But yeah, so I think that's awesome. But I mean, Jim Cramer is not a leading indicator. He is a lagging indicator. Take a look at the call options Tesla bought as a hedge when they did a capital raise last year. They're going to end up raking in over $7 billion in cash. Great thread on the Tesla Investors Club subreddit, which is an awesome subreddit I'm a moderator on. That is fascinating. I don't know who just commented that. Actually, I do know. Alex Chinin. That would be fascinating, implying that Tesla hedged their own debt position with call options. I don't know if they actually did that, but that's a really interesting theory. I'm going to have to look into that. Thank you for commenting that. Really interesting. Sean, how do you expect to do when Tesla to crash hits? Yes, so Tesla in a recession, I mean, this is always something to worry about, or just think about if you're an investor, like what happens if there's a huge financial recession. Previously, I was very worried about Tesla in that scenario because they were reliant on outside funding for their business model. Now Tesla's become profitable. They have $6.3 billion in the bank, or $6 billion in the bank. No, $6.3 billion in the bank. So I think Tesla is in the safest position of any car company if a recession were to hit. And so that gives me some comfort. I think they'll totally survive in a recession. Their balance sheets are very fortified, but will the stock probably take a hit if the global economy crashes because of coronavirus, it spreads? Yes, and actually I want to make a video about that, so stay tuned. Okay, any more questions? Oh, awesome super chat. TB, something that's seriously underrated right now is Ethereum. Ethereum and Bitcoin. Okay, well, I still own some Bitcoin. I don't know if this is the time to talk about Ethereum, but thank you for the super chat. Yeah, it's funny. Yahoo Finance mentioned me today. I'm like waiting for a callback from CNBC, or like, I'm like, yo, like, am I getting back on to do my victory lap, or do you guys only want me on so you can make fun of me when the stock's down? But now that it's up, and they're all like, it's so funny to watch the CNBC analysts be baffled about this. Like, they haven't even crunched one number. It's like they haven't even read the financials at all. Am I comfortable buying at these levels? That's an interesting question. Any other questions here? I'm trying to think about if I have anything else to talk about. Well, anyway, to wrap it up, I think Tesla is basically, what we're seeing here is just a fundamental re-rating of the stock, an understanding of them as a technology company. I think that's the biggest thing that's driving these shares right now. I'm personally not selling a single share of my stock. That's not advice to any of you. I'm not a financial advisor, but I also want to say a huge thank you for the support. I feel like Tesla's been such a grassroots movement, like to hear Elon Musk say none of the Wall Street analysts got it and none of them did, and say that small retail investors got it, is so, like, this is kind of a turning point in Wall Street history. or just financial market history, where we're truly seeing the Wall Street industrial complex, whatever you want to call it, just finally break their entire system of the discounted cash flow model of trying to, punch numbers on their spreadsheets, not understand technology, think they're smarter than everyone else, even though none of them have ever built a company. I just think we're finally seeing that all crumble with Tesla, which makes me so, so happy. And I think this is kind of a really fascinating turning point. And the fact that Tesla has zero advertising, yet is outselling all of their competition. I mean, this is like a truly on the backbone of the internet disruption that wouldn't have been possible with the internet, and using the internet to connect all these millions of people who have realized that climate change is a huge issue, that buying electric vehicles and investing in Tesla is not only an amazing product to have that is so fun and is such an amazing product to just buy outright, but there's a real why behind the company. And I think that is the big thing Wall Street doesn't get. That's the big thing every other automaker doesn't have. They're trying to make electric vehicles to make money, but I don't actually think they're trying to do this for the right reason. They don't have the actual why behind the company. And so I think that is a huge, huge thing that's going on. And I personally am so pumped about the why behind the company, because I think that's why people are buying the products. And I think that's what's going to keep carrying this. Like, we're not stopping. Like, we need to change the entire energy and transportation system. And so we're just like in the tiniest little early innings of that. And Tesla's not a car company. They're like an energy technology computer company. And that is so, so important to understand if you're going to think about the valuation, why it makes sense. And it's funny to see that actually even Wall Street is now understanding that. Film Crew Tech, thanks for buying me lunch in the super chat. Thank you. All right, I feel like I've been rambling on too long. You guys probably want, or I don't know, if you have more questions, I'll answer them. Otherwise, I'm going to go make more videos. I'm going to make a battery investor day video. I'm trying to steal all of Elon Musk's thunder and Drew's, and basically announce everything they're going to announce at Battery Investor Day before they announce it, which I think is going to be epic, because I've like, in the background, I've been like putting some pieces together, and I'm really excited about that. And I also think that's another facet of the competitive advantage that I'm not worried about, is like even Tesla's struggling to figure out how the hell they can ramp production beyond 500,000 cars a year. Like, and they're a million miles ahead. Everyone else hasn't even figured out how to get to 100,000 electric vehicles a year. And so, and let alone have this battery breakthrough that they're about to announce that's going to allow them to even scale beyond that. So I think we're in the you want to invest in, Peter Thiel said, monopolies, right? You want to invest in a company that's a monopoly. I think the biggest upcoming monopoly I could possibly think of right now is getting a regulated autonomous taxi on the road. If you can get an L5 taxi on the road before anyone else, you will monopolize transport in a way that we haven't seen for decades. That will be just, yeah, that's why ARK Invest is saying the stock will be like a $10,000 stock, because we're talking about a multi-year monopoly on just an unbelievably massive disruption, technological disruption with self-driving. So that's kind of like this crazy call option that a lot of people are having. But another weird angle, I guess I'm going to keep ranting here, is I'm thinking like, for it to be really a $1 trillion company, I don't really ride in a Tesla every day except when I'm at Tesla events and people give me rides. But like, I'm not, when I get an Uber, it's not in a Tesla. We need that to change. We need to all be driving around in a Tesla for this to really be a $1 trillion company. So that's one thing I keep in the back of the mind, is like, this needs to really go mainstream. How does that happen? We're still not quite there yet. There's like a big 2 to 3 year technological leap for this robo-taxi thing to occur. And so I think that's really important to remember, but I think that will be the switch of where we don't all have to buy Teslas to be supporting Tesla. I think we're just going to be riding around in Teslas, or the bulk of us will be, and that's where a lot of the value will come from. Marcel, thank you. Third Row Podcast, thanks for that shout out. Bailey Gifford, increasing the stake. At what price will I buy a Tesla? Well, I actually have the most sustainable method of transport in the world, which is my Adams sneakers, because I walk everywhere. So, yeah. And actually, one thing that I guess since I'm keep ranting, there's 3,000 of you in here, which is epic. Like, shout out to all of you guys for tuning in. I really think that one of like the hidden gems of Tesla right now is the energy business. And I'm like, I just don't think people get this. And even the financial media comparing the market cap of Tesla to all these car companies is just totally missing that this is like already a multi-billion-dollar energy industry, or billion-dollar energy company. And I think that's like a storyline, because Tesla's energy revenue hasn't grown. until this year or until 2020 is about to be a crazy game changer for understanding Tesla. Yeah, and that's going to be unbelievable. So I think that will also be a part of the narrative, is this understanding of not only is Tesla selling really computers, but they're also really an energy technology company. And then when you start to think of them in that lens, how much the world needs that technology, that will lead to that multi-$100 billion valuation and how they're going. Everyone's saying that the short squeeze hasn't started yet. I think you're crazy, but is DBE alone to supply Tesla? No. So I think Tesla is on the cusp of diversifying its batteries, so basically just buying as many batteries as they possibly can. They just announced an agreement with CATL in China. They have Panasonic, the Gigafactory, which just announced a profit there, which means that partnership's booming. They're probably going to expand that as well. I mean, Tesla's literally buying every single cell they can and about to build a production line to build their own cells. So, you know what I mean? I think that's going to be insane. And I think, yeah. Talk Waymo. I think Waymo just doesn't have enough data. I think they're struggling. I think Cruise is struggling. Or they're maybe the two farthest ahead behind Tesla, but Tesla trucking, yeah, I think that's also something that's going to be a game changer. I was talking to Rivian this just a couple days ago at the Austin conference, and it's really awesome to hear their strategy. I think they're a really cool company. They have a ton of money from Amazon, huge potential. And they have this order of 100,000 delivery vans from Amazon. And so I'm thinking like, wow, there is such a pent up demand for electric transport vehicles. Tesla doesn't even have battery. They literally sell every car they make. But like, I'm not even talking about consumer cars. Like, we're also talking about trucks that need to do this. And so, Tesla's not a car company, not a sedan company. They're this new propulsion technology, which needs to go to trucks too. And so I think that, I was getting hyped on the energy business here a second ago about 2020, that kind of come into light as a silver lining. I think the other potential silver lining here is now that semi-production and deliveries start to get off the ground. That's going to be another potential huge growth driver, totally new market segment, moving stuff around, not just people. I will say one potential drawback in the thing is China has been a huge potential growth. Like, everyone's pumped up about that potential for the growth of Tesla in 2020. And I think the coronavirus could actually, if it keeps expanding, like if it's kind of stops from here and dies down in a month or so, it'll just be a little blip, Q1. But if that keeps expanding, I mean, that could definitely materially affect Tesla's sales and revenue for the year, or like what they're expecting to do growth-wise, because, there's so much on their China Gigafactory. So I think that's like, as much as I'm a bull and you want to get excited, you have to think about these risks and what could happen as well. When will Battery Day happen? April. Oh, so I just got another idea of something to talk about. One thing I put in my in my fully charged presentation, which was I wish I had a video of it to post. There was like 500 people watching, and it was just like, the energy was just awesome. But I was modeling out Tesla's revenue until 2030, started out doing it until 2025. I was like, okay, they have the Cybertruck, the semi-truck, the Model Y, the Model 3, like think about all these cars they have. And I was modeling like how many sales those cars are going to get, how much revenue that's going to get Tesla. And then I was like, wait, Tesla's best-selling car in a decade or maybe less is actually something they have not announced yet that does not exist. The Model 2, a smaller, more compact car. It's going to cost them about $25,000 to build, maybe a little less, including the autonomy suite. I think this will be the holy grail of Tesla's technology. I think this is going to be an absolute game changer. And it's like a way to think about Tesla is like all their financials today don't even matter because they're just stepping stones to build this next technology, which is truly going to be the Model 2 for Tesla, which is going to be, and actually Elon Musk has hinted at this in the MKBHD interview. He's talked about it a couple other times, and Tesla's all about bringing down the cost of this electric technology to make it more and more affordable. And so the Model 3 is not the last iteration of that. That's so important. I think the Model 2 will be the last iteration of that. They already put that picture of the car they designed in China. If you look at that, the job postings they made in China, they're building a design center there. China sells a lot of like tinier EVs as well. So they're going to start it with the Chinese market for global export or for global consumption. They may not export it from China, just export the design, build it at other gigafactories. But I think there's a huge, the best-selling car for Tesla by the end of this decade will be the Model 2. That is my theory, and it'll be autonomous. And that will be truly the game changer. And I think that product alone is like hundreds of billions of market cap. That's the car that all of us get driven around in. We can tap an Uber for basically get an Uber for 1/5 of the cost. And I think it's incredible. And I actually think they could even try. It's what's so radical about this idea of autonomy and electric autonomy is you could, like, I think Uber and Lyft are desperate to get their hands on as many good, reliable electric cars as they can because they know consumers would pay a premium to ride around an electric vehicle. I would totally pay a premium. I think consumers want their packages delivered in an electric vehicle. I think everybody is desperate for this technology, and Tesla's going to have it. And so I think this is like, if you think about it, yes, it's going to cost them, 1/10 per mile of what it costs Uber to get you around, but the value is even higher than what's Uber offering today. I mean, this is a radical disconnect. Means the revenue of what Tesla's building, the profit potential, the margin potential of their products goes from 20% to 70%, 80%. Gross margin. This is the ARK investment thesis. When you have per dollar in revenue, those gross margins ramping, that's when you have price sales ramping. That's why Netflix, that's why these SaaS companies who are growing at 50% trade at 10, 12 times sales, because their margin, the theory is their margins are so high, they're going to be so profitable per dollar in revenue. Well, if that happens for Tesla, you could see those similar price sales ratios. So that's why when I keep coming back to, is 900 expensive? Is 180 billion too much for this company? I don't think so, because that's only 5.5 times my expected price sales. That's only 50 times my expected normalized earnings ratio, which I was talking about earlier in this video. And I think that's going to compound at an extremely rapid clip here. I think we're just in the early stages of the growth of Tesla as a business, and therefore the growth of the value of the equity is just in the early stages as well. But you got to remember, this is not going to go up in a straight line. Like, it's going to be like this. There's going to be a day where it's down 20%, and like, you can't feel bad. That's why I don't feel like so great. Everyone's like texting me like, Gally, are you dancing? Like, what's up? Like, are you partying? And I'm like, not really. Like, I don't, it's not like that different for me, honestly, than what it was a week ago. Although it is cool to see the market recognizing the value. Like, you don't want to get too excited when the stock goes up. Don't get too bummed when it goes down. And also, like, I want to say it again, I'm not a financial advisor. Every single trade that you make is on you. You got to remember that. Do your own homework, make your own financial decisions. I think the sooner you come to that personal conclusion, the more successful you're going to be in the long term. You can't rely on other people. That's never going to work. At least that's for me, like, as someone who wants to invest their own money. So anyway, I'm having so much fun on this live stream. I don't want to tune out. So I hope I'm not boring you guys. What's like a gazillion-dollar industry that nobody's talking about that Tesla could disrupt? Yeah, so much like I said, they're going to license that electric skateboard. I actually think even more likely than that is them to license that fully self-driving chip and the autonomous vehicle suite that Tesla's developed. Like, so I talked to Rivian pretty in depth about their entire autonomy suite. It's actually on my phone, so I can't read it, but they have like 2 lidars, 10 cameras, 2 radars. They have like a huge autonomy suite, which is like massive. Oh, Steve Baer, huge super chat. Thank you so much, dude. Down 20%, 720. Yeah. But I think that just showed me like Tesla's 8 cameras, 2 radar. I think they have an amazingly cheap way to get to autonomy. Like, they built a car for $40,000 that is autonomous hardware in it. This cannot be understated with their software chip technology as well. So that piece of technology is even more valuable than the battery if you think about it long term, because the battery just makes the car go electric. That's not really what's taking those margins from 20% to 80%. What is that self-driving piece? So that self-driving technology, I think, is worth 40 to 50 grand per car versus the battery technology maybe 10 to 15 grand per car. So triple per car what it's worth. So when you talk about licensing, Intel inside, Qualcomm inside, it's an idea that I keep circling around more and more. And I really think that licensing out that technology of the autonomy chip has so much potential to be a huge business when we think about 5 years, and I think that would be, actually, if I had another question for Elon Musk, it would be like, do you think in 10 years you will still be building the bulk of the electric vehicles, or will you have licensed out your technology, and will there be more cars built with Tesla technology by other companies than your company? Like, I would be so interested to see how he thinks about that, and I don't even think that's formulated. I think there's some really fascinating discussions going on behind the scenes right now from every single big automaker talking to Tesla, powered by Tesla. That's right, Nick G. Is it they're talking about how do we get your batteries? How do we get your self-driving tech? Every single car company is at the table with Tesla right now figuring this out. I'm like, I mean, I don't know that, but I'm like, if I had to guess, my analysis is just saying yes. That's why Elon Musk couldn't deny it on the conference call. That's why Adam Jonas works for Morgan Stanley, whose banking homies are probably having beers telling him about how they're in these meetings, is asking this on the Fiat call and the Tesla call, because he knows that there is discussions going on. That's why the VW CEO is homies with Tesla. I mean, they are all desperate for this. That million mile comment cracked me up. But also the million mile battery. That's and the next thing that Tesla unveils. I mean, this is all technology that is yet to be monetized. That's not in the financials. That won't be for years. But that I think is so valuable. And so that's kind of the crux of this. Is I think we're in the early stages of Tesla commercializing all of their technology, and I'm sticking around to see that to see the financial fruit that bears. Intel paid $15 billion for Mobileye, and they're not that good. I love that. That's so true. I went to NYU for my finance degree. All right, any more questions? I just put out on the Clips channel. Aaron just chopped up a part of the Third Row interview, shout out to Third Row, where I asked Elon about electric airplanes. So if you want to talk about a crazy industry that Tesla could disrupt, maybe, I don't know. We'll have to see. You have to see what Elon says when I asked him about it. You can go check that out on the Hyper Clips channel. But I thought that's a really cool, interesting angle to take. Do I think the media is clueless or has just been distributing wrong information? This is something I waffle back and forth on. I mean, there's a huge $1 trillion industry in oil that's entrenched to sort of, hate on Tesla in theory. That's a huge financial incentive to hate on Tesla. So is there some sort of organized conspiracy to take down Tesla? I don't know. I think maybe, but I also think like sometimes people are just dumb, and I think they just haven't done the homework. And I think that's a big piece of Tesla, is there's a lot of clickbait articles. It's easier. I think that was one of the big things that Tesla is such an interesting point in history when the internet was out. So much disinformation. I think a lot of these journalists that work for Bloomberg, CNBC, Yahoo, that I used to be friends with and follow, and frankly just can't anymore because they were so wrong about this entire thing, is that they're really selling not the truth. They're selling clicks. They're selling advertisements. That is how they're incentivized. That's what they're selling. They want to be the one to break the story that hated on Tesla. I mean, I was around in the financial crisis. That was like right when I was ending high school and college. And I think ever since then, and then we saw the stock market crash, it's been like, you seem smart if you're like a skeptic. Like, you point holes in the great company. You're trying to be like, this is the bubble. You know what I mean? Everyone's saying this is a bubble. It's like, okay, let's have a financial debate about that. What's the price earnings ratio of the S&P 500? 20 right now. What's that translate into an earnings yield basis? 5% earnings yield. Let's say it's at 25, 4% earnings yield. What am I getting on a 10-year bond? 2%. So I'm still getting more yield on an earnings basis, in theory, value from a 25 times price earnings ratio on the S&P than I am from the US 10-year Treasury. So, even pricing in that risk premium, I think that makes sense. So, I think the 2008 recession was actually like a once in a century recession, not a once in a decade recession. And I think that sort of like financial mindset of skepticism is a sort of toxic mentality that all these journalists had. And it was easy to go on TV and seem smart by saying, pointing out one stat about Tesla and saying how they're a fraud. But in the truth, nobody was looking at the bigger picture. It was a lot harder to say why they would succeed. I think that's just why the financial media didn't get it. They wanted to be the smart guy that poked the hole in this great company and write a book about it instead of actually finding the truth. They already thought they knew the future without doing the work. And I think, I don't want to call it names, but those journalists are they'll be forgotten. But yeah, anyway, I don't want to get too wrapped up on that. How will Tesla affect our Comodo? I've seen this. This is like 100 super chats on that. No idea. More people are going to buy electric. I love our Comodo. I think they're awesome. Tesla can do anything with motors. They're disrupting utilities, all of that. I think that's that's going to be a big thing, is the utility disruption. Another bit, like thing that's just as big as cars, frankly, that's going to come to light. Buying factories. I'm not sure. I'd rather they license out their technologies to get more factories. Electric drones, electric ships. Those are all things that are coming if you have the best battery technology. So I agree with all that. Wind turbine motors. Do I think they should buy Daimler? No, I don't think Tesla should buy Daimler. I don't think they should buy anyone because they have all the technology. That's actually something else I could talk about. Is Tesla on the conference call got a ton of questions about, like, basically, why don't you raise money? Your equity price is soaring. Like, your equity price is so high. Why don't you delever the company? Why don't you sell stock to raise money? And they're like, no, 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 no. First of all, I was asked like 4 times, but and I think it's like an easy MBA ask, right? It's like that MBA. It's like, well, technically your equity value is up. You could sell stock on that, dilute, pay down debt. Our spreadsheet would look a little better if you did that, and then you could buy a company. And I loved Elon Musk's answer. He's like, well, who should we buy? Like, there's nobody that's developing better technology than us. If there is, we'll watch them. We're buying them. I think it's hilarious that these like MBA mentalities try and run Tesla when it's like, no, do not sell equity. I'm like, no, 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 no. This Tesla stock is worth gold. These are like a gold mine. We do not want to dilute our stock at this price. It was brutal to dilute it at 220 or whatever that they did the equity raise last time. They do not want to do that again. They do not need the cash. I mean, I think Tesla should not sell any stock right now and shouldn't for a long time. And I love that take from Elon. And that really shows you how strong the company's financial footing is, because look at what happened to Beyond Meat. The second their stock soared, they're like, oh my God, we're selling as much stock as possible to raise money because we know this is just ridiculous. And so when Tesla and Elon Musk, I guess the stock was like 600 when they said this, but they were like, no, we're not. I think that's very interesting, and it would be telling, very telling, if they did sell stock. And now, what do they actually, if they did sell stock, why would they need more billions? What would they do with it? Not buy a company. They are going to actually, finally, those of you who hung on this late in the live stream, I got something for you. I think what they're going to announce at Battery Investor Day is a massive capital injection into a massive new expansion of the Gigafactory that will have the Maxwell technology, and they're going to ramp huge production, potentially 500 gigawatt hours, a terawatt hour over the next decade of this new type of battery cell production. They're going to need billions of dollars to fund that. That's why when you look at their thing, they have, $6 billion in cash. I think they're going to announce, and they're like saving up all this money. They're going to keep making money. It's like, okay, well, what are they going to spend it on? What are they going to do with it? I think they're immediately going to start plowing it into this massive expansion of building their own battery cells at the Gigafactory, this new technology. They're going to announce this massive roadmap to do so, and that's going to unlock the biggest bottleneck of their business, which is battery supply constraints. And so that's like another shoe to drop about, that's like the last puzzle piece. If you're watching this, you probably can put together my whole Maxwell video. But I think they're going to announce, okay, we got a better way to build a cell that results in a cell that's slightly energy denser, which means you can pack more of them in, which means we can also get you more range, and because they're simpler, they don't crack as much on the cycles, so we're getting more cycles. We can charge it, 4,000 cycles versus 1,000 cycles. And so really, really cool stuff there. And it will be cheaper to build. But we need so many batteries, we're going to invest $1 billion to build them. So that's what I think they're going to announce at the Battery Investor Day. That's just going to be the battery side. The other part that doesn't get enough love is the powertrain. This is the other part of that skateboard. So you got your battery, then you got the little motor thing that actually turns the wheels and everything, turns that energy from the battery into stuff the car can use or whatever. So that is something that I just caught my eye on a mining question, which is like, okay, I've been scheming on that too, but I don't want to get sidetracked. The powertrain is a totally underappreciated, massive side of Tesla's advantage, is the fact that they have the cheapest powertrain, the most efficient powertrain. That's part of this skateboard technology. And I think Drew said it so well in the last conference call. Like, it's not just about designing batteries and electric cars on paper. Tesla's had 10 years of building cars on the road. They are the leading entity in the world on battery technology. Like, they have testing 1 million cars on the road for a decade on the road. They know how these cells work. They know how they change. They know how it happens in cold temperatures, hot temperatures, humid temperatures, all around the world. Whether your driving speeds of, how you drive, if you're ludicrous moding all the time, or if you drive like me, like a grandma, or if you're supercharging, or if you're charging at home, if you charge to 100 or 80, these are all like such nuances that Tesla has figured out that no other auto company, they're going to have to go through a decade to actually figure them out. And so I think that real world expertise is so kind of like underrated. Hyper grandma. Super chat, should Tesla stock split? This is something a lot of people ask me. I think more people could buy it if they split, but there's also this disruption happening with brokerages right now where like Robinhood and a bunch of other companies letting you buy fractional shares. I think that's going to be ubiquitous in a year or two, and so it won't really matter what the share price is. And I also think that like you should never think of a company in terms of stock price. I think that'll really help you when the shares goes up. You're like, okay, it's 900, like it was 300, it's so expensive. What does that mean? It's 900, Apple's 300, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't matter. It's all about price per share times number of shares to get the actual market cap. I think that's so, so important. So I think, Tesla's worth 180 billion. That's how you should think of it. When you're buying in a Tesla at 900, you're buying in a 980 or 180 billion valuation. Is that fair? Is that, do I think that's going to go up or down? And then start to paying their financials, 33 billion in revenue divided by 180 billion, 5.5 times price sales, da da da. You can start to think about the valuation, but the share price is actually really just irrelevant, to be honest. And so I really hope that's kind of one of my like pet peeves of the whole financial industry that I really hope to get fixed, is that I wish financial media and the whole world talked about companies in terms of valuation and market cap instead of share price. When I think about the new IBM battery, a joke. I think IBM has a zero chance at competing with a solid battery. Any more questions here? Oh, mining. So will Tesla buy a mining company? They'd love to vertically integrate. Yes. Do I think Elon Musk is pounding the table wanting to buy a battery or a mining company? Yes. But mines are very tricky business. I don't know if Tesla should get into mining. I mean, they're going to it could take years. First of all, I had a very interesting mining conversation at this Austin event like 2 days ago, and it sort of blew my mind about how old school the technology of mining is, like how we just guess where minerals are. There's not really a scientific approach of how to analyze where minerals are efficiently. And I think that leads to a lot of waste, a lot of cost, a lot of time to actually getting minerals off the ground. I mean, mining is a super dirty, complex, capital intensive business. And I think it's Tesla would want to buy a mine, but does it make sense? Is that the best, most efficient use of their capital right now versus expanding the Gigafactory with the DBE, letting the mining companies do their thing? Probably, but in the long term, does Tesla want to get into mining? Do they maybe have to really take things in their own hands, control their own destiny? That is what they've said. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, that is a huge thing that Tesla said in their at the shareholder letter. Drew Bagliano and JB Straubel and Elon Musk, they're saying we want to take this all into our own hands, basically. And I think that's such a big I don't know. I just think that's such a big clue of the vertical integration that is on the cusp of getting announced. And one thing that they hinted about with vertical integration is we might even have to get into mining. So if they're going to talk about mining and Tesla getting into mining, that would also be at the Battery Investor Day. That'd be one of the craziest moonshots ever if they said they were doing that. There's also a huge amount of crossover technology potential, not huge, but I think there is a huge amount of some amount of crossover technology potential for the boring companies' electric drilling technology and the innovations they're doing there to help automate and electrify the mining process. So maybe you think about 5 to 10 years out, Tesla mining is something they could get into as they get more capital. They really want to control that supply chain. But I think now mining is a little bit far-fetched, frankly. Yeah, there's some sort of mine in the lithium in Nevada, a big lithium mine, but I don't even think they've started production. They're years away from that. So when you think about Tesla's standpoint of okay, are we going to spend hundreds of millions or billions of dollars to invest in this mine that's not even going to give us lithium for 2 more years when we could spend that money on expanding the Gigafactory? I don't think the capital allocation makes sense to invest in mining right now. Gally, think we'll get another chance to buy in March, April with China factory closed, slow Q1. Chris, thanks for the super chat. Like I said, I never give financial advice, and I do not pretend to know where the stock is going. I did not think we would be at 900 right now. I just think if you think you can do that, if you think you're oh, I'm smarter than the entire stock market, when they announce there's going to be a Q1 that's going to be weaker than people expect, that's going to cause the stock to dip, but then nobody's going to realize, because I'm so smart, how good Q2 is going to be, that the stock's going to dip, it's going to be this perfect thing, then I'm going to time it, then it's going to go. Even if you do that and get it right, you're just lucky. I'm sorry. I've been investing for 12 years. When people try and tell me they think they know what the stock's doing, I'm like, dude, if you actually knew what was happening in the stock market and can predict it that well, you would be a billionaire. you would not be doing live streams on YouTube. Like, you wouldn't be in the YouTube comments, you know, like, I don't know. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents on that, is like, don't overthink it. Don't think you're smarter than the market. I don't know. I just think that's really interesting. There was some very interesting stuff people are bringing up about Quebec, because apparently Goodenough and Braga, who I speculated could be working with Tesla to commercialize their new development of the solid state lithium cell, this next generation lithium cell invented by the guy who came up with the lithium ion battery, John Goodenough, has apparently started working with this lab in Quebec or Montreal, or I don't know. I hope I'm getting that. Maybe that's both. I don't know. But and not working with Tesla apparently on that. So Hydro Quebec. Thank you, David. So I guess that debunks my theory maybe, but I don't think that changes my theory about that Tesla will announce a new battery, that they'll bring battery production in-house, but I guess they're not doing it with Goodenough. And I'm like kind of bummed about Goodenough and Braga, because I'm like, this Quebec thing is not, they're not going to like, maybe, I don't know, it's like still science project. Like, if you want to actually change the world and commercialize this technology, like, do it with Tesla. Do it with the company that's actually doing it. Yeah. Or maybe it's already available and ramping. Someone said that, so maybe that's wrong. Is the stock rising? I don't know. My computer fell asleep on me. Let me load this. 9:18 is what I'm seeing. Anyway, so fun to be live right now with you all. I just kind of want, it's like over an hour, but I'm just having so much fun. I kind of thought, like, why not hang with you guys and talk about Tesla, scheme on it, get all your thoughts, just sort of ramble. This is the moment when electric cars defeat ICE cars in performance. Yes. Solar shingles. Yeah, solar roof. I mean, that's another one of those things where it's like, could that be a $100 billion company on its own making roofs solar? I mean, there's 4 million roofs sold a year in North America. I mean, we're talking tens of thousands per solar roof. I mean, that's tens of billions per revenue per year potential for Tesla. And what Elon Musk was saying on the call, it's not about like, it's like the cars. It's not about how, it's like, you know, it's about how much they can build, how fast they can scale it. The demand is huge. And so I think if you're building a new roof in a couple of years, it's going to make complete financial sense to just go with a solar roof. And so, you know, if Tesla perfects that technology, I mean, that to me is one of the, you know, like I said, Elon Musk's an inventor, and he brings these crazy inventions to market, like the electric car, dope. Okay, autonomous car, dope. But turning our roofs into energy producers, I mean, this is like his whole thing about like, you're going to want your roof to be alive. You're going to want it to be producing energy, like working for you. Like, it's going to seem so lame to have a roof that just like protects you, that's not having solar panels embedded. It's like, what are you doing? You're leaving money on the table. You're just having energy hit you and it's just being wasted. Like, lame. That's not going to be a thing in the future. So I think that whole system of, instead of like, go to a house with solar panels, like you have to like put on these extra panels and like it looks ugly, it's super expensive, it takes a super boutique install time. Like, Tesla's removing so much friction to get solar on your rooftop, that they've been working on that technology forever. And that's one thing that's like, first I used to get frustrated by it, but now I laugh. It's like, okay, you're going to critique Tesla for taking so long on their solar roof, but it's so disruption. It's so disruptive. It's so much potential. It's so hard. It's so different. There's a reason why this doesn't exist. There's a reason why no one's done it, because it's super hard technologically. And Tesla is doing that, and they're going to do it, and they're going to bring it to market. And I think that's going to be huge potential. All right, any more questions here? Catching up on super chats. Kai, thank you. Solar is not in the ARC valuation. Love it. Oh, the Plaid powertrain. I almost got sidetracked. So I think just as much as the Maxwell technology will blow your mind on Battery Investor Day, what Tesla will talk about in the powertrain, like in terms of the powertrain, that Plaid powertrain they've been working on, I think that has huge potential. I think that's just as important as the batteries. I don't know enough about it, but I know Tesla builds their own powertrains at the Gigafactory. I believe that's pretty much all their own IP. Elon Musk basically said it's like alien technology. It's already the best in the industry. Now that Plaid Model S that was going around the Nürburgring is going to have that was a sneak preview of this new powertrain Tesla's been working on. Probably going to go into all their products soon, starting the most expensive ones because it's going to be very expensive, but huge potential there. I think for not only innovation on the batteries, but that powertrain. And I also, for those of you who weren't tuned in earlier, like my scheme, which I want to hit up Tesla about, is they showed the Energy Investor Day in 2021. I think that's going to be equally epic. Any more questions? Solid state batteries. So will the Maxwell? This is a big thing that I'm wondering. Is the Maxwell cell just basically like a tinier, more compact version of those lithium ion cells that like those 4,000 in the car? It's still that 4,000 in a big pack approach. I also know they still have like 4 modules, which are maybe irrelevant and a little redundant. But I don't know. Sorry, I got sidetracked there. But is Tesla's new battery going to be like a prismatic cell? Is it going to be a pouch cell? Are they going to change up that form factor? I actually kind of think there's a way to make it more efficient, because I think the way they pack the cells maybe takes up too much space and is redundant with the amount of materials it uses. I don't know enough about that, but I have a feeling like maybe slightly less cells could make it slightly more energy dense. Or maybe it's just that the cells themselves are a little smaller and they squeeze them all together tighter, or they pack more in. But the performance of those cells is going to improve. And what's interesting about the Maxwell technology is if you go back to that slide of the DBE, they're like, okay, Tesla's current energy density of their cells is like 250, 260 watt hours per kilogram, I believe. Don't kill me if I'm wrong here. But Maxwell had already done a POC, proof of concept, at 300. And I'm almost 99% sure that proof of concept was with Tesla. I'm pretty sure they had their own line producing experimental Maxwell cells at some facility like Fremont, where they're basically testing out, okay, is this Maxwell Science Project legit? They're like, oh my God, it's legit. But anyway, legit at 300 watt hours per kilogram. Tesla's at 256 today. But then on the chart for Maxwell, they're like, in a couple years, 400, 500 watt hours per kilogram potential of this technology. So we're talking about potentially a doubling of energy density in the long term with this new dry battery electrode. So I mean, it's pretty incredible, because Tesla's already the best-selling car on the market with this 300-mile range EV for 40 grand, the Model 3. But if they can build a 400-mile range car for cheaper, I mean, yeah, I'll let you extrapolate there. And it's all about pace of innovation here. I mean, that's so important when you think about Tesla, what they're doing, how to think about the company. Who do you think is going to win in the long run? Yes, Tesla's ahead. Even if they were tied, I would think Tesla's going to crush everybody, because they're running faster. I mean, that's so important to understand. And I think it's kind of like a runaway train at this point, but the speed at which Tesla's iterating, I mean, these other companies are like, oh, here's our 2020 Bolt. Then we're going to have the 2021 Bolt. It's like they're moving it just like a snail's pace. And now Tesla has so many resources that I think it's awesome. If I had to guess what the share price be in 2021, you're not listening to my live stream, because I have no idea. Do not pretend to think I know what the share price will ever do. Okay, so how much will robo-taxis cannibalize auto sales? This is a really, really interesting sort of just, yeah. I think new car sales could actually fall, because you won't need a car. And I think less and less teenagers in the US are already getting their driver's license because of this phenomena. But you basically won't need to drive, because you're going to get this autonomous robotaxi come to you. That means like there's going to be fleet operators of cars, not really people driving. So I think that could be a very interesting transition. And if you're not the first person to do an autonomous car, you could be in serious trouble. So that is potentially a risk. Tesla is like, if Waymo or someone does develop a self-driving car ahead of Tesla, that could wipe out the whole auto industry and like totally crush every other company making cars. But the flip side of that is, if you're that company with that autonomous car, which Ark and myself think will be Tesla, you will crush everybody and put everyone else out of business, because nobody will need to buy a car. You'll never need to buy a car, because you'll just get a robotaxi. Like, it would just be financially insane, unless you really want to drive around by yourself all the time. Yes, I think they should build and sell new batteries to Chrysler. All right, super chat, message retracted. So how is all of this going to lower the cost per kilowatt hour? So how does the Maxwell thing lower cost? First of all, economies of scale are going to lower cost. Second of all, I think it's just that you don't need the drying oven. So time saves money, space saves money, less solvent saves money, simplicity saves money. So I think that is going to be a huge, huge component to the Maxwell technology thing, is that not only it means they can make a bunch of batteries way faster, but they're going to do it slightly cheaper, and bring down that cost because of the technology. And then you add in the economies of scale, more and more layers of cost. The other big thing that Tesla does that's underappreciated is Groman engineering, robotic automation, them basically automating. Like, I was at the Gigafactory, I don't even remember when, 6 months ago, 8 months ago, maybe less. But they were showing me how on these battery production lines, like they're like, you see this guy, he's like putting these like rows of batteries together, one by one, and they're like, let's go look at this production line. They're like, we bought Groman Engineering, this engineering automation company they bought from Germany a couple years ago. Now the robot is doing it. Like, you want to talk about robots taking over, like automation, pace of innovation. I mean, Tesla's every single thing they do, they're reinventing it to make it more automated, more simple. And so that's when I'm like, okay, pace of innovation in terms of building cars is one thing, but building batteries is another thing. I think they're just going to leapfrog companies like Panasonic and LG, and I think that's why they're building their own cell production now, because they're on the cusp of not only becoming the best car maker in the world, but becoming the best battery maker in the world as well, getting expertise in that area. I wish I could block some of these people in the chat. I'm sorry for the spam. Oh, I think that worked. Okay, I've been live for 70 minutes. I think I'm going to tune out. You were all awesome. Even if Waymo does it first, they can't scale it. That's an excellent point. Waymo's still doing it, driving around in like cars that burn fossil fuels. I think that's hilarious. And it's like, if you think Waymo's actually serious, like they had to order I-Paces to drive around. I mean, it's like, bro. Yeah. Anyway, I love you all too. Thank you so much for tuning in. This has been an awesome feel-good moment for the Tesla community. Don't get too bummed when the stock goes down, because it will go down. Remember, not financial advice. Nothing I say is financial advice. But anyway, I don't know whether you should invest in Tesla or not. You got to make that decision. Love you all. I'll see you soon. Happy Tesla 900 day. Peace out.